Hey, good afternoon. It's Rick here from Rock Island, September 24th. So, I want to talk about something that I think is very, very prevalent in today's society, and especially with the November midterm elections coming. This is not a political post, though, so I want to put that out there. I'm not talking about one side or the other or specific topics only. If you've listened to me, you've heard and know where I stand on values and politics. So this is not about that. It's about something that affects both sides of the coin. It affects everybody, whether you're right, left, liberal, conservative, on every topic, and that's called extremism. I think it's very difficult to deal with, and it's a problem. Now, let me get this straight for one. I think it's different. There's a difference between extremism and being very passionate in what you believe. I think it's very important and very commendable, especially today, to be passionate in your belief systems, whatever it may be. I have a lot of respect for people who are truly passionate, even if they're not believing in what I believe in, they're opposite. If they're passionate about it, and we can open up dialogue, that's good. Extremism crosses that border. There's nothing good about extremism. Okay, now, the thing about extremism is that when you get to that point, okay, say you have a subject or topic, politics, whatever, and you're right and you're left, you're more liberal way of thinking or conservative way of thinking, okay, and you become an extremist. You're one and the same. You're one and the same. Oh, you may say, oh, I have this view is different than him. Yeah, but your approach, because extremists, what they do is they lose. Most people who are extremists, most of the time, when they started out, were not extremists. And they started out with some very good thought processes. It wasn't like they were always whacked out. A lot of times, a lot of these people, a lot of them start out with a good, a noble mission. And then it spirals right out of control, because what they do is when you become an extremist, you lose the focus of what you really were starting on. You then become very prideful. You have no ability to communicate with other people. You start to think you're almost like your own God. You can make all changes and you can circumvent rules and you can cause violence to other people. You start to think that the ends justifies the means, which it never does. Now, as a Christian person, I am Catholic in my case, Catholic Christian, and I can shoot this for any Christianity because it all goes the same way. There's no such thing as the ends justify the means. There is no such thing. Your ending does not justify a violent way of thinking or disrespect of other people. There's no way. It doesn't bring it to a good. Okay? So that's what happens when you become an extremist. You start to lose focus, caring of anybody else, working together, bringing a better good. It just becomes about pushing your agenda at all costs. And you lose total focus. And you lose respect of other people and sometimes even of yourself. I'll give you an example of two types of extremists. Okay, now, let's go on the right side. Now, I'm personally against abortion. I put that out there. Most people that are pro-life don't do what I'm about to tell you, this scenario. But there are a small segment that think it's okay to cause violence to abortion clinics or shoot and kill abortion doctors and things of that nature. That's an extremist. Okay? They have now become the monsters they're trying to stop. They're one and the same. Try to justify it, well, saving babies, that's not the way to do it. All right? You're trying to stop killing, and you're doing killing. It's an extremist. Nothing grows out of that except for more hate. On the flip side, okay, now first let me go back to the abortion one. If you want to save a child, which I believe is a good thing, okay, there's nothing unnoble about that. But when you get to the point where now you're going to do it, all kinds of violence at all costs, you've lost the meaning. On the flip side, environmentalists, okay, I'm not really a big environmentalist, but people want to make sure the world is, the country and the world and Earth is environmentally sound. Okay, environmentally sound and safe for people. There's nothing wrong with that. Intrinsically, in itself, there's nothing wrong with that. I think but when it grows to the point where it becomes an obsession, it overtakes you, and now I've seen people, they'll cause violence and unrest and all kinds of violent protests because they want to make sure that they get their way. Well, now you become an extremist. Okay? Two schools of thought that I've just brought up to you that are intrinsically not evil, but they become when the people get so wrapped up in getting their agenda at all costs that they'll harm people and do anything to make them think that this is going to make a difference, and it really doesn't. When you get to an extreme case, you become a very hate-filled human being. Okay, we've seen that like with Muslims. Okay, I've seen Muslims who have a military career, people that are Muslims that are very, very, very nice people, and most of them are. They're respectful, they keep to themselves. Then, of course, we have the extremist Muslims, which are very different. And they even persecute the peaceful Muslims. They become an extremist. Okay? When you become an extremist, again, Jim Jones, I've used him before, let's add Jim Jones. That's an example of extremism. It can be as that. There's many other things involved. There was a cult follower. But when he first started, one of his biggest, people don't realize when he first started, one of the attractions about Jim Jones, the atheist preacher who feigned being a Christian and had over 900 people killed in Guyana in 1978. When he first started, in the 50s into the early 60s, the attraction to him was that he was one of the first leaders and preacher leaders that really integrated blacks and whites, interracial, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. He adopted colored children and openly wanted people to mix together and helped a lot of people of color. So originally, Jim Jones, what made him appeal to some of his flock and other people around, notable people, was that he had a good cause. Now, many things went astray and went off the rails, and he wound up being into himself, and he wound up being extremist, and he wound up having a cult-like, godlike thing, and wound up a lot of those same people that he helped wound up, unfortunately, dying at the end in 1978. But that's a case of extremism. But it started out with a pretty noble mission. So that's what I'm going to keep it here. Extremism. Stand for what you believe. I never liked the concept that I'm in the middle of the road, because I often feel that people say they're in the middle of the road, people I've met, have no opinion, and that can be very dangerous because they'll go with anything. They have no opinion, they make no statement, they don't care. So I think it's good to have a stance on all different political, whatever it is, but just remember that you need to respect your neighbor about it. That's how you have dialogue. We've seen extremism on both sides, what it does, okay? Skinhead Nazis, Antifa. We've seen violence from these groups they're separate in their ideology, but they act the same. Violence and hate, and that's got to end. There's no room for that. No matter what you think your platform. Oh, I'm standing for this. No, you become an extremist. You become somebody who's out of focus, and you'll get nothing done. It's Rick here. I do apologize if you hear my cat in the background. He wants to play, and he's meowing. So it's 24 September. Have a great day. God love you.